Hello, TCI family, Jonathan's Refuge, all of our faithful followers and friends from around the world. We love you all so much. Coming to you from TCI, the Church of Inclusion. It is Bishop here. I miss and love all of you in this winter, cold, mucky weather in Seattle. I love snow, if you don't know. And so we had freezing weather below zero in a lot of places. We had a big Arctic push and all this stuff. And so it's been a lot of slush and rain and all that yuckiness. And it's not like the normal rain. And then it's got all the ground. It's been a horrible place in some places to be here in Seattle and Washington. But I'm glad to be coming to you. Hopefully you're warm watching this. If you're not, if you're in the church tonight at Marysville, welcome. And you'll see me and my wife there. And we look forward to giving you a hug and telling you we love you guys. Come fellowship with us from 6 to 7:15 on Thursday nights in Marysville. Your weekends is for you to enjoy with your family. God actually intended for the weekends to be restful. And I can show you why this church doesn't have services on Saturdays or Sundays and why we do ours in the weeknights, so that the weekends are meant for you and your spouse and your children and your family to rejuvenate yourself with God and be out there in the world doing things as a family, okay, and going together into the world. So come up tonight. If you got some food, bring some. If you don't, that's okay. There's plenty there always. I want to come to you. We're going to get into the message. The message is really titled, How Do You Deal with Yourself When You Are Starting to Give Up in a Situation? What do you do? How do you deal with it? So I looked to a man named King David. King David was the second king of the country Israel. He lived approximately 1,500 years, if I remember correct. No way. Maybe it was 1,000 years, between 1,000 and 1,500 years before Christ. So between 30 and 3,500 years ago, and forgive me, I'm blanking on if it's 3,000 or 35, but roughly right in there. And he was the second king in the country called Israel. And he was a king that his kingdom was ruled with the sword. So there was a lot of bloodshed. And he wrote in this one psalm, the book of Psalms is like it's like a personal journal from him. And it's what he thinks he wanted to write to God. So in his depression, because he dealt with grave depression. I relate to King David. I call it Lincoln depression. When I was younger, I was diagnosed with such massive depression, a darkness kind of depression, the kind that just usually people kill themselves or just they're not in any way fun to be around. And luckily for me, I found ways through my mentors and through God how to overcome that. And one of the examples is right here. So when I'm depressed, how do I deal with it? Because see, I fall apart all the time. The difference between the now falling apart and 30 years ago was 30 years ago. Falling apart, usually I would, like most people, you throw your life away, you sabotage your careers, and you implode, and you stay in this nasty place for months sometimes, maybe the whole year. It's horrible what happened to me, and I'm going to just even suffer more because of it. And now flash forward to sitting where I'm at now, same depression creeps in. And what happens is the recovery time. It's only moments. It's maybe minutes of the depression that you can grab it and go, okay, this is only going to last I'm not letting this last for even an hour. I don't even want these thoughts in my head. So you got to take control of your thoughts. So we're going to learn how this guy did it. So David, in the time that he wrote this, we're in the book of Psalms, chapter 43. When he wrote the Psalms, chapter 43, actually 42, the one before it, and 43, even though they were technically written as two separate, they're the same thread. So they're really, you should read 42 and 43, but I can surmise it as I do for you. In the opening, he says, "Vindicate me, O God." So he's saying, I plead my cause against the people, my enemies. Okay, so he's pleading to God, like, help me. And then he talks about, where are you, the God of my strength? Why have you abandoned me? He's telling God this. Same sentence. He's like, send out your light and your truth. I need them to guide me. Now, when you get to the very end, the majority of this entire 43rd Psalm is him yelling at God. Why have you abandoned me? Why aren't you here? Where's my strength? You're supposed to fix this stuff. You're supposed to save me. And then at the very end, from his depression, by the way, because he was so depressed. He was being chased and being attacked at all times, and he didn't deserve it. He did not. But he was fighting against a horrible kingdom, and he was unjustly being come after. So he had all these rights to say, yeah, this is wrong. And he did. I would have too. I do it all the time. I was at the hospital today getting my MRI for my head to see if any of the stroke had left any permanent damage. And you're in this thing for 20 minutes. They put you in for 10 minutes and they run it around, and it's so loud. You have these big headphones on, and then after the 10 minutes, they've scanned your brain. They pull you out and they put this IV in you, and then they put this chemical that goes all the way through your system. And then they put you back in. The contrast comes up really good in the MRI. And then they do another 10 minutes in there. So you're in there for 20 minutes. And, they call me Mr. Positive. But let me tell you something. Mr. Positive has actually the most negative thoughts almost at all times. Like the first thing that pops up in this guy's head is usually, oh, my God, that's horrifying. But it's momentarily, because instantly my positive mister comes out and says, whoa, hey, what are you doing, dude? We don't think about why are you even thinking of worrying about it? Why would you spend any time, Jonathan? This is the good angel, the bad angel on the shoulder talking to me in my head, in the MRI, trying to, God, why am I in this MRI? I don't understand it, God. I'm doing your work. I'm doing what you asked. I'm doing what I'm told. I'm being the good guy. I'm doing the right things. I'm not that street thug gangster. I'm not out there hurting and harming and pillaging. What am I doing? I'm out there helping. I'm doing the right thing. I'm putting all the money to help people. So why me? Why me, oh God? And I'm going to tell you what I said today to get my brain out of that funk, that depression. The very end, he says to himself, why are you cast down, O my soul? And why are you disquieted within me? Hope in God, for I shall yet praise him, the help of my countenance and my God. Wow. Listen to that. He just spent 4 verses boo-hooing God. Why aren't you with me? Why don't you give me the strength? Show me the light and the way. I need the path. And then the 5th sentence, he just flips it over and goes, what's wrong with you, dude? So think about that. He literally rants to God for 12 to 20 seconds. And then after that, instantly, he ends it almost like he's a different person. And it is he became a different mindset. Same person, but he flipped the mindset. You see, the mindset of a king, the mindset of a successful person, the mindset determines everything. And David's mindset was just like you and me. And just like today with me, I was boo-hooing. I even grabbed my wife's hand this morning before we left the bed. I had an early doctor's meeting. So I grabbed that hand. I said, can we pray? Because I love when my wife prays for me. And so she prayed, and we prayed for great results, and that there's no permanent damage, that everything's good, and that things will all work out, because that's what we're supposed to believe. And that's what we're supposed to speak over our lives. But it doesn't mean it's in here going on, because back here in this head, in this brain, you're battling yourself. And let me tell you something. I am a force to be reckoned with. And you guys know that. So when I come against a cause and I'm for something, you better be, hope to God willing, you're on that side too, because I am bringing the force of me with me. But that also means I'm bringing that same weight to my mindset. And I know you're thinking, what does that mean? Well, it means the same fierceness that I protect those that are not able to protect themselves, I will use to battle my brain, my mind, my emotions, my heart. I will not allow that depression to hold me down for an hour, like grabbing it and saying this verse. Now, the ending verse is funny. My father, you guys all know I had 3 dads, and I call them D1, D2, and D3. My birth father was D1. My adopted dad was D2. And my spiritual father, he was D3. Well, D1, my birth dad, very famous man, he ended up doing this sermon. It was one of his famous sermons, and he talked a lot about David. He loved David because he related to David, and you can relate to this man. If you read the book of Psalms in the Bible, it's in the Old Testament. It is an amazing book. Just read one in the morning before you go to work, or before you guys start your day at work. It'll transform your life. And what he did was he realized this man was just like himself. And I remember my dad, when he preached this sermon, he would actually stand up there and he would pull his jacket apart like that. And he'd go, "Oh, my soul, why are you downtrodden? Why are you cast down? And then, why are you disquieted within me? Hope in God." And he would speak to himself. So he's looking at himself. He's got a whole church filled with thousands of people. He's yelling at himself this. And you say that was for the theatrics, right? No, sir. I lived with that man. That was my father. And I watched my father. And I watched him go into meetings from his mega churches to CFO to CEO of publicly traded companies. And I watched him go out of board meetings and hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, stress through the roof. And I would see him look calm and cool and collected to everybody. And then I'd watch him go into the room and he would go through this chapter 43. He would literally, "God, why have you left me? Why have you abandoned me? What is wrong?" And then what happened? At the same second, he flipped that coin and there's David on the reverse. "What's wrong with you, dude? Check yourself. Suck it up, buttercup." Just like it says in the sign up there. What do you mean you're going to be? No, we're not depressed. What are you talking about? Trust in God. We got this. Now you say that's just semantics. Well, if it is, it's made me a very peaceful person. Because, see, when you are in depression, it weighs on you. It pulls you down. It sucks you in. We battled depression in Washington, the Pacific Northwest, because of the gray skies. The state of Maine battles the same thing. In New England, sometimes you have a higher suicide rate where there's a more gray skies, clouds, because people get depressed. So how do I fix it? I got to get out. I can't sit in the house. I can't be in the office. I got to go do something. I need to help somebody that's worse than me. Well, you say, "Well, who's that?" They're out there. Oh, it doesn't take much to find them. Maybe it's that person on the street. You don't know. Get in your car. Go get a hot meal from McDonald's. Drive down and find a homeless person and say, "Listen, I just bought this meal to give to one person, and you're the person I saw. So I'm bringing it to you. God bless you. No strings attached. Don't need to say or do or come anywhere or go anywhere. Here's a meal from me to you. God bless you." See how fast that can pull your head out of our keisters of depression. You see, we have a keister of depression, and sometimes we stick our head in it, just like the ostrich does, and we put it down in there. And that's why when I get depressed, I love some of my friends and my close circle of people because they won't let me stay depressed. They know it. If I am quiet too long, they show up at the house, literally, and they have my permission. And those are the close people that have keys. So I can't say go away. They're going to open the door and come in and be like, "Hey, let's go." But that's how you don't get depressed. See, David had 400 strongmen outlaws. With those 400 outlaws that were with him, he had their families. So this guy's now in charge of anywhere from 800 to 2,000 people in the wilderness, hiding and being hunted all the time and fighting and bloodshed. It wasn't hard for him to step out of his own cave for a second and go, "Man, there's some hurting people out here. So-and-so just lost her husband yesterday. Let me go help that person." Okay. So David would battle almost like he was two different persons. And you say, "Well, that's like being bipolar." It is actually. It's like an oxymoron. One minute you're fine, the next minute you're not. We're all like that in different aspects or layers, if you will. And so when you find yourself in that position and you're starting to feel depressed more, like I was this morning, the weight of that drive to the hospital, I allowed myself to from the time I left the house, my blood pressure went up 20 points when I got there because I tested in the morning, got in, they tested it again, and it jumped 20 points. Now, it was already 170 over the 110s. It jumped up 20 points to 190 or like 118. I did that to myself. I need you to hear me on this. My illnesses and my stroke and cardiovascular issues and all of those things are so scary. And I'm watching the body slowly fall apart over the last few years. But I will not sit there and feed it, because feeding it, science has proven, the more I sit and discuss, what comes next? There's the next phase of it. Yes, I need to be prepared for the next phase. I have assistants. I have executive assistants in my companies. I have all kinds of people on my staff and they all have specific goals and jobs, and I'm preparing for the worst case scenario. What happens if I'm, incapacitated? There's this company. This is a large organization. This has got a lot of parts. It's a multi-million-dollar, operation. This is not simple. So I have everything right there in the front of my forehead on a daily basis. But I won't feed into that dark thought, because the dark thought will manifest even faster. I encourage you to read a book by Viktor Frankl, In Search of the Meaning of Life, if I remember correct. He was a psychologist, a famed psychologist, and he was in the concentration camp, the Nazi concentration camp of Auschwitz. And he ended up actually counseling not only the people in there with him, his fellow inmates dying, but he counseled the guards killing the people to try to help them through the process. This man's experience can give you great insight into what David and how to overcome what David overcame if you want to go into further reading. But if you want to keep it simple, keep it simple, right? Let's keep it simple, please, because it is not that complicated. We all get depressed. You get in a fight with your spouse, maybe the fear runs in that she's going to leave you or he's going to leave you. That's natural. It's okay. One of my mentors, who was married for almost 4 decades, even at the end of their life, when they had a fight, there's that fear that runs in. Are they going to leave me? Are they going to abandon me? We have those. Fear is real. But what you do with it is you have to face it and rise above it. Fear, F-E-A-R. Face everything and rise. It's okay to spit out the vileness. It's okay to look in the mirror and be like, I don't know why this is happening. I do it, just like today. And then I suck it up, Buttercup, and I say, oh, my soul, you will yet. Praise God. We're alive. We're fighting. We have a wife. We have a company. We've got businesses that are changing the world. We've got an MRI going on, and I'm able to talk? What are you talking about? So there's some couple things I had to adjust in my life. Woohoo! That's my life. It's a roller coaster. It's fluid. It's always moving and shaking and jiving and moving around here and going there. And sometimes, all the time, I don't have most control. I have to roll with it. And that's not easy for a man like me who likes to be able to control the world around him. How do you get away with it? You just have to say, I trust God and I love God. God is you, you are God, God and you are one. We are all one consciousness connected. So I need you to hear that. Get out there and do something beyond you. Go take somebody a meal. I know you think that's foolish. It really will make a difference. And if you don't know how or who to help, just reach out to my wife at the church, the First Lady, TCI. We have one of the largest mental health providers in the region in Seattle, Washington, greater Seattle area, and covering, I think, 5 counties. We have so many stories of people who need help, from food, from shelter, from a hotel for the night. There's a ton of people that are good people trying to get out of the street, that are trying to get, their mental health put in the right place so they're not a burden on society. We help them on a daily basis in our church and in our mental health practice. So if you need to find someone, just pick up the phone, reach out to the First Lady, Cece, and she can help put you into a dozen different people that your time, effort, or money could greatly go to help those folks. I love you guys. I'm going to wrap it up here so we keep it under our 20. I just want you to remember this. Stop yelling at the world to solve your problem. You see it all the time in the car out there. It's your fault. You get to work and you're grumpy and someone's like, why are you grumpy? I was cut off on the freeway. So that guy still owns you? That was like 30 minutes ago and you're still angry about that? That person owned you. At the hospital today, I don't like the fact that fear owned me for a better part of an hour of my day. And literally, that's more than I ever go. I don't go more than an hour. But I went just over an hour of allowing fear to creep in there. So subtle how fast fear can come in and grab you. Oh no. I even started to question, should I go out for a walk this week? The doctors say I would die, but they always say that. Fear can stop you and cripple you, and it can just pull you out from all that is good. Focus on the good. Prepare for the worst, but focus and stay on top of the good. Speak to yourself. Speak to you, because God is in you, and are you, is you, as you. So when you speak, you're speaking life. There's life and death in the tongue. You can literally actually go on YouTube, put it in the internet search, and there's a ton of research done at universities where plants that have a recording of negative, nasty people saying mean things. You're ugly, you're nasty all day, right? They play it on a recording, just nasty comments from people. And they play this right in front of a plant. The next room has the exact same plant, same everything, except this plant is now going to have music that are words that are now, hey, you're amazing. You're beautiful. Has anyone told you you're awesome? Thank you. You're so kind. All these positive things. One plant will wither and die, and one will thrive. Life and death is in our tongue. Start by speaking life into your situation. I have white matter lesions on my brain, folks. I took too many hits to the head, too many concussions. They say I'm going to lose my brain eventually someday. And if you know me, my brain means everything to me. It's how I operate. It's how I function at such a high IQ. You take my brain away from me. You slow me down up there, and I feel like I'm stupid, and I feel like I can't do anything and contribute. So you're attacking the core of who I am. And then the worst part, I mean, is the chances, right? There's all that fear. Well, there's also you can never know who your people are around. What? So I'm planning to prepare for all that. We have plans for all that. But it ain't going to happen. You want to know why? I want to be that one guy that the white matter lesions doesn't keep growing. Now you say that's not possible. Watch me. It wasn't possible for me to live past September of 2 years ago. But as my good friend Brian, and as you see right now are looking at, I'm here. I'm not dead, but they said I would be. So don't listen always to the doctors. Just because a doctor tells you you're going to die, they don't know everything. You can be the miracle, but you got to speak life. So speak life into you. Oh, my soul, Jonathan, you are not going to die. You are not going to go out like that. No, sir. You will be healthy. You will make it out of this. I love you guys. Speak to your situation life. God bless. We'll see you next week.